John Alexander Jack French VC was an Australian recipient of the Victoria Cross, the highest and most prestigious award for gallantry in the face of the enemy that can be awarded to British and Commonwealth forces. French was one of 20 Australians to receive the award for their actions during World War II. He was killed in action fighting against the Japanese during the Battle of Milne Bay in September 1942 while serving with the 9th Battalion. Early life. French was born on 15 July 1914 in Crow's Nest, north of Toowoomba in Queensland, Australia. His parents were Lucy and Albert French. His father was a hairdresser who had moved to the Crow's Nest area from Tenterfield, New South Wales, while his mother had originally come from Charleville, Queensland. In his formative years, French had a reputation as a good sportsman, excelling particularly at rugby league. He was also known for his sense of fair play, with one of his childhood friends, Alf Blinko, recounting the story of how French had exonerated him when he had been falsely accused of stealing by finding the real perpetrators. At age 6, French attended the Crow's Nest State Primary School, continuing his schooling there until 1928 when he gained a scholarship to further his education by successfully passing a scholarship examination. After this, French attended the Toowoomba State High School and Toowoomba Technical College. In 1929, after completing his schooling, he joined his father's business, commencing an apprenticeship. World War II. After the outbreak of World War II, French enlisted in the 2nd Australian Imperial Force on the 22nd of October 1939, the first in Crow's Nest to do so. As a Queenslander, French was posted to the 9th Battalion, the 1st Infantry Battalion raised in Queensland during the war. After completing training at Redbank, Queensland, in early May 1940, the 9th Battalion received orders to deploy overseas. Embarking upon the Mauritania, they sailed to the United Kingdom where the battalion formed part of an Australian contingent, part of the 6th Division, that were to help defend against a possible invasion following the fall of France. The invasion did not eventuate, and in late 1940, the battalion, along with the rest of the 18th Brigade, were transferred to the Middle East. They reached Alexandria in late December, and shortly after arrival, the battalion became part of the 7th Division. In March 1941, the 9th took part in the first combat action, successfully capturing the Italian fort of Giarabub. The battalion then joined the garrison at Tobruk as it was surrounded by German forces, taking part in several actions before being withdrawn in August. They briefly trained in Palestine before being sent to Syria, where they undertook garrison duties following the capitulation of Vichy French forces. French was promoted to corporal in December. In early 1942, in response to the growing threat posed by Japan's entry into the war following the attacks on Pearl Harbor and Malaya, the 9th Battalion, along with the rest of the 7th Division, was brought back to Australia. At this time they were eventually granted 7 days leave, and French returned to Australia and Crow's Nest. This leave was the final time his family saw him alive. This was followed by further training as the Australian Army reorganised for jungle warfare. Before the 9th were committed to the fighting against the Japanese in New Guinea. Victoria Cross. In late August 1942, the 9th Battalion was deployed to the Milne Bay area of New Guinea. The Japanese were advancing south along the Kokoda Track, and Allied intelligence had predicted an attack around Milne Bay. In early September, the battalion took part in heavy fighting after the Japanese landed a force to capture the Allied airfields situated there. It was during this fighting that French performed the deeds that led to him being awarded the Victoria Cross. The citation for French's VC award reads as follows: "At Milne Bay, New Guinea, on the afternoon of the 4th of September 1942, a company of Australian Infantry Battalion attacked a Japanese position where it encountered terrific rifle and machine gun fire. The advance of the section, of which Corporal French was in command, was held up by fire from 3 enemy machine gun posts, whereupon Corporal French, ordering his section to take cover, advanced and silenced one of the posts with grenades. He returned to his section for more grenades and again advanced and silenced the second post, armed with a Thompson submachine gun. He then attacked the third post, firing from the hip as he went forward. He was seen to be badly wounded by fire from this post, but he continued to advance. Enemy guns then ceased fire and his section pushed on to find that all the members of the 3 enemy gun crews had been killed, and that Corporal French had died in front of the 3rd gun pit. By his cool courage and disregard of his own personal safety, this non-commissioned officer saved members of his section from heavy casualties and was responsible for the successful conclusion of the attack. The fighting around Milne Bay eventually resulted in Japanese withdrawal, and represented the first full-scale defeat of the Japanese on land during the war. Although French's Victoria Cross was gazetted first, his award was actually the second for actions on Australian territory, as Bruce Kingsbury received his VC for actions near Shurava on the Kokoda Track on the 29th of August 1942. French is buried at the Bomana War Cemetery at Port Moresby. He was survived by his fiancée Dulcie McCarran. 2 of his brothers also served during the war, Eric in the Army and Gordon, who was killed in action in August 1943 in Europe, in the Royal Australian Air Force. Named in his honor, the library at Crow's Nest is called the John French VC Memorial Library. The Corporal John Alexander Jack French VC Estate in Gainthorne, Brisbane is named in his honor.